Hello and welcome to day 7 of my 31 Days of Horror. I'm Joey Hollywood, and the movie I watched today was The Revenge of Frankenstein. This picks up within moments after the first movie, and then skips a couple years. And I'm perfectly fine with that. You see, one of the things that always drew me to the Hammer Dracula films over the Universal ones was the continuity between each movie. Where Dracula died in the last film, the other movie would pick up. And I'm a big fan of continuity between films. It always drives me crazy when a movie doesn't pick up where the last one starts, or if it's a soft reboot and things don't match up. Unless it's Evil Dead, then it can do whatever it wants, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Now, Frankenstein himself is not quite as evil as he was in the last movie. They do sort of make him more of a good person in this. And I'm not sure if it's just because they thought they couldn't have a series where they just have a terrible human being in a bunch of sequels, but they kind of made him a little bit more okay, and they just kind of brushed under the rug that he was a murderer. But I suppose you could interpret that as he's trying to redeem himself. And that is an element in this film. He is trying to redeem himself. And this movie, unfortunately, does not have Christopher Lee returning as the monster. This film actually has everything go perfectly right for the making of a new monster, or a new human being. You see, the quote-unquote monster in this film looks normal. He doesn't look like a monster, because this is supposed to be Frankenstein's attempt at doing it right. And it could have gone that way, but of course it's a Frankenstein movie and something goes wrong. Kind of like how Bride of Frankenstein feels like the second half of the first Frankenstein. This very much feels like it's the rest of that first Frankenstein movie. It's not quite as strong, but I think it's a decent follow-up to Curse of Frankenstein. I would definitely recommend picking up these first two Hammer Frankenstein movies. After this point, it's more like, well, if you want to, but these first two definitely, I think, make a great pair of movies. And of course, if you're a Hammer fan, watch the rest. The quote-unquote monster in this movie is very sympathetic, more sympathetic than the monster in the last one. He's a guy who was born disformed, and Frankenstein helps him by putting his brain in a different body. And he's a good person, but things go wrong, and he just becomes a monster, not of his own free will. Well, like I said, it's a decent follow-up to Curse of Frankenstein, and I recommend it. Thank you for watching. I'm Joey Hollywood, and I'll see you in day 8 of my 31 Days of Horror.